What are the chances of surviving one atomic bomb? Almost zero. But surviving two in the same week? That's a story so unbelievable, it sounds like fiction. Yet, it happened. The year was 1945. In the final days of World War II, a Japanese engineer named Tsutomu Yamaguchi would face the unimaginable. The skies above Japan were filled with uncertainty, but nothing could prepare him for what was about to come. It was a clear, sunny morning in Hiroshima, a day that would change the course of history forever. Tsutomu Yamaguchi was on a business trip, preparing to leave the city after weeks of work at the Mitsubishi shipyards. The streets bustled with ordinary life, bicycles rattling over cobblestones, merchants setting up stalls, children on their way to school. Nothing hinted at the disaster just minutes away. At 8:15 a.m., a blinding flash lit up the sky. In an instant, day turned into searing white light. Yamaguchi was thrown to the ground. His eardrums ruptured, his skin burned. Around him, the city he had just walked through dissolved into fire, dust, and silence. Even though he was bruised, half-blind, and disoriented, he managed to walk through the destroyed city and survive. But survival was only the beginning. Because Yamaguchi's journey didn't end in Hiroshima, it led him back home to Nagasaki. Burned, deafened, and barely able to see, Tsutomu Yamaguchi should not have survived Hiroshima, but somehow he kept moving. Though he was wounded and wrapped in bandages, Yamaguchi made his way through the ash and ruins. He found a train that was still running, which was his way to escape. He boarded a train packed with other survivors, and he suffered through the painful trip home to Nagasaki. His family, stunned to see him alive, listened as he described the horror he had just escaped. To Yamaguchi, home felt like safety, but fate was not finished with him yet, because only 3 days later, as he stood in his Nagasaki office, history would strike again. On August 9, 1945, just 3 days after surviving Hiroshima, Yamaguchi was at work in Nagasaki, still bandaged and weak. He was telling his boss about the first bomb when, at 11:02 a.m., the sky exploded again. This time, he was inside a strong building. The windows shattered, but he was protected. He survived his second atomic bomb as fire and darkness engulfed the city. Once more, he searched through the chaos and found his wife and son alive. But Yamaguchi's story didn't end there. He later dedicated his life to speaking out against nuclear weapons, turning his personal suffering into a mission for peace. Most men would have been broken by surviving one atomic bomb. Tsutomu Yamaguchi endured two and chose to dedicate the rest of his life to peace. Scarred but alive, he carried the weight of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in his body and memory. For decades, he lived quietly with his family, working as an engineer, but he never forgot what he had seen. Cities erased in seconds, lives turned to shadows on walls. In his later years, Yamaguchi began to speak publicly, sharing his story as a warning to the world about the horrors of nuclear war. In 2009, Japan officially recognized him as the only person to survive both atomic bombings. 1 year later, in 2010, Tsutomu Yamaguchi passed away at the age of 93, a man who had stared death in the face twice and lived long enough to see his voice become part of history's conscience. His story is a powerful lesson from history. Subscribe to Next Scene and watch our next video, because the past still has lessons the world cannot afford to forget.